Ha. Welcome once more to my channel. As usual, I am here to dish out health information. Let us acquire knowledge on health matters. Today's topic shall dwell more on malaria. Very popular. Malaria is so popular and it has been in existence even 400 BC, before Christ. You can imagine something that has been in existence for so long and it has not been eradicated. Whereas there are so many pandemics that has come and have gone. But malaria remains a constant problem, especially in Africa. Right now, majority of the world, countries of the world have been certified free of malaria. The scourge is still very, very endemic in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria inclusive. Nigeria even has very high level of parasitemia, of malaria. And the population mostly affected are the children below 5 years, from 0 to 5 years of age, that really dies yearly from this scourge. This febrile illness that has refused to go. It is for this reason that I have not chosen that topic. What has been our effort and what has been sustaining malaria parasite itself? Malaria parasite, how has it been able to withstand all this onslaught? And have we been relenting in any way? WHO has even been certifying so many countries. Once they can have a situation of no new malaria experience in 3 years, then the country will be certified as malaria eradicated country. But Nigeria and some sub-Saharan countries are still very much being victims of malaria. So it is very, very endemic in this part of the world. The topic I have chosen is malaria parasite resilient update. How have we helped in reducing the rates of malaria parasitism and also the deaths, because we are talking of children, and the one that affects especially Nigeria is the one that is the deadliest, the Plasmodium falciparum. The others are there too that are not as deadly, but the deadliest is Plasmodium falciparum, which has been really decimating the population, especially the children below 5 years and below. So the efforts at eradicating is what you will be seeing, and what you can also do to help make this malaria a bygone story. So let us listen, watch, and see what we can do, and also the treatments that is available. Our country may also be certified as malaria eradicated country. In order to understand how resilient malaria really is, we need to look at the malaria fever actors. Because in all sincerity, all people know is the Anopheles mosquito. Once you see mosquito, you think that is the malaria itself. But what you have here that we are seeing are the real malaria actors. They are the causer of malaria itself. You find the ring forms. The malaria takes different shapes. So malaria parasite itself is in color here. You find the schizin, the merozoites, and the malaria Anopheles mosquito, female, for production. It needs blood for its production. That's why you find the mosquito itself being a party in this art, that is the film, more like a film we want to watch. These are the main actors of this thing. Now they have different species. The malaria parasite life cycle, we are now talking of 5 different species of malaria. There is that major, which I've just mentioned earlier, Plasmodium falciparum, which causes the malignant serious malaria problem. It coagulates together and could kill. The malaria, Plasmodium malariae, we have the vipers, we have the Plasmodium ovalionolesi. So when we are now looking at this critically, they have the same pattern of life cycle. So their life cycle starts with mosquito bites. The mosquito introduces the sporozoites, that is the malaria parasite in the larva form, which migrate to the liver, and it continues to that multiplication and forms the merozoites because it continues to multiply. It forms the merozoites. This merozoite will now infect the red blood cells. The red blood cells, the ring form. What you have from now is the ring form, then it grows to trophozoite. These are all growths, and they are dangerous, destroying red blood cells. The schizing is now the next thing that destroys the red blood cells. You can see it now breaks out as single merozoite, which will later go on to grow up to the gametocyte, which would be taken again by mosquito, Anopheles mosquito. The sign and symptom of this parasite infection is as what we shall say. Fever is the number one sign and symptom. Chill when you start checking. General feeling of discomfort. Headache, yes, very popular problem. Nausea and vomiting. Diarrhea is also abdominal pains and muscle or joint pain. You can see the child. That muscle or joint pain is in the area of the bone marrow where red blood cells are made. So that's why you have to feel that muscle or joint pain. You can see the child, the temperature is being checked. Now, how do we attack this malaria parasite if we don't want it anymore? This is part of our effort. We are not relenting in how to eradicate it. So because we have found out that the gametocytes, which I earlier showed, are the sexual gametes that will allow for reproduction of these parasites in mosquitoes. If we can prevent the prevention of mosquitoes from gametocyte carriers, so those people who have the gametocyte, if mosquito will not bite them, then the gametocyte will not mature to become sporozoite. That is, the sporozoite, the larval stage that really attacks people and start another malaria cycle. Also, we could also prevention of man from infected mosquito bites. If malaria does not bite man, whether it has the parasite in it or not, that bites. If it's prevented using nets, repellent, proper clothing, that is, you wear your clothes up to your foot level. Then destruction of mosquito through removal of breeding places by drainage. And we have drainage flowing. That is, the water is really flowing, not that it's stagnant, because malaria will really breed in swampy, marshy areas. Once there is a swamp or marshy area, malaria breeds there, no way. Destruction of mosquito eggs. That is, there are various stages. The egg of the mosquito, the larva, and the pupa. So that mosquito itself does not really become able to be the vector. So malaria parasite attack itself. When we now attack, we could attack, we have listed the vector. The vector are just the mosquito. Due intention is using the insecticide treated mosquito nets and also indoor residual spraying when we spray the mosquito this thing. Then there is also the treatment with preventive chemotherapy, where you now use whether the person has malaria or not, you do perennial malaria chemo prevention, PMC. Seasonal malaria chemo prevention is also there. There is also the intermittent preventive treatment of malaria in pregnancy. That is, when people are pregnant, there is always they give them Daraprin and all these other drugs those days, and it's still done these days. Then school chemo prevention, you use it for children too. Schools, post-discharge malaria chemo prevention is PDMC, and mass drug administration, where you really give, especially in all these are in endemic areas. You don't give these where the malaria parasite is not endemic. Countries where malaria parasite is endemic, these are areas that you can target. Then vaccine is another one, and already the vaccine brand name produced is Mosquirix, which is also part of our unrelenting effort to make sure that this malaria parasite becomes a thing of the past. This will go on and on. Then we can talk of the next attack, that is what malaria parasite resilient to. This, and is malaria itself now making it almost all our efforts a nullity. You can look from this, we are not relenting, and malaria parasite is not relenting too. That whatever progress in global malaria control made, it is threatened by emerging resistance to insecticide among Anopheles mosquito. According to the latest World Malaria Report, 78 countries reported mosquito resistant to at least one of the 4 commonly used insecticide classes in the period 2010-19. In 29 countries, mosquito resistance was reported to all main insecticides classes. So you can see that the resilience is serious, that mosquito itself is refusing to go. If we can eradicate mosquito, probably as the vector, we will now be able to say bye-bye to malaria in the world. But the world is a global village. You cannot leave malaria in any part of the world and expect it not to go. Once there is a swamp or a swamping area, it will go. This is another one that I just mentioned, the preventive chemotherapy. This effort at eradicating malaria too is also facing resistance from the parasite. Resilience on the part of professionals and WHO requires regular monitoring of drug efficacy in order to inform treatment policy in malaria endemic countries, and to ensure early detection of and response to drug resistance. That drug resistance is a problem. The best available treatment, particularly for Plasmodium falciparum malaria, is artemisinin, and is a combined treatment which is very popular, that I will talk about it in the treatment section. Vaccine is also, which I had earlier mentioned, and the problem with vaccine is you have so many different forms of this malaria parasite. There are so many actors. So vaccine towards which of them? These forms, so which of them of these forms could be targeted by vaccine? But for the fear of the complex immune reaction, you don't know whether it could now even produce autoimmunity. And you are talking of malaria living at times in the liver. You could also damage the liver using the idea of vaccines. But luckily for us, a vaccine has been approved by WHO itself, and that vaccine is Mosquirix, the first vaccine after 35 years research, because the malaria parasite keep changing the receptor site for attachments of the cell-mediated immune response, even the humoral response. So now we see that even this vaccine is just effectively at preventing severe cases of malaria in children of only around 30%. It is not something you can say is 100%. Then there is also the effort from the laboratory, the diagnostic resilience, that is, we keep improving on how to quickly identify this malaria so that the treatments can be done and then we can eradicate it. So the gold standard is thin film and thick film. under the microscope. It's very easy. That's the thick film, how it appears on slide, the darker one, and these are the microscopic appearances. Those having blue inside are the parasite. The parasites are that bluish dots. More or less, you are seeing inside the red blood cells. The red blood cells are the circular ones you are seeing. So once the slide is stained, the thin film is stained with Leishman, and the thick film is stained with Giemsa. So, but the thin film, you want to use the parasitized red cells over the total red cell times 100% to get the level of parasitemia. The level of parasitemia helps in monitoring treatment. That is the drug effective, and it helps to also know drug resistance. The thick film parasitemia level is also what is calculated as parasite per microliter blood equals to parasite over WBC times WC count per microliter, or you get something within that region. For malaria diagnosis, WHO recommends that at least 100 feet, each containing approximately 20 WBC, is diagnostic of malaria. And like I said, you use it to also monitor. This is another diagnostic equipment that allows for quick examination of the blood, so that you can get if there is a presence of malaria parasite. It's called QBC method, quantitative buffer code. The method, blood samples are collected in a special tube containing acridine orange and anticoagulant, and it is spun using the special microhematocrit centrifuge. And when you now examine it under the microscope, it fluoresces, the fluorescent microscope. This is the hematocrit centrifuge, but this is not the QBC hematocrit centrifuge. The QBC is also it operates on the same principle, and this is the appearance. What you are seeing as the tiny greens, or those ones, they are the malaria parasite itself, the tropozoid. That's the tropozoid, the ring forms, the singlet, and what have you. And then we have also molecular diagnosis, that is a diagnosis to the molecular level. You are now talking of polymerase chain reaction. So microscopic examination of stained blood smear is considered the gold standard for diagnosis of malaria and others. When species determination cannot be made by microscopic examination, analysis by polymerase chain reaction is helpful, and the samples are collected 1 to 5 mils, and if you're using the vacuum, and if you have to transport it to where the machines are, the QBC, if it's, the PCR, if you don't have it, but if you have it, you can always spot the paper directly from the whole blood, and you continue with the process. There is also the rapid diagnostic test for malaria parasite. These are more or less do it alone practice. The rapid diagnostic tests for malaria parasites have been developed that employ immunochromatographic methods based on the detection of malaria antigen present in peripheral blood. Most tests use monoclonal antibody. When you talk of monoclonal antibody, you are talking of being very specific. You can see the results is here. The test, the control will also always come out positive if it's positive control, and then you have the negative control too. It must come out negative. When there is a reaction, you will see the line. The line tells you this is the drug for treatment. Fluoquine is recommended by CDC, and ACT is a combination of 2 or more drugs that works against the malaria parasite in different ways. This is usually the preferred treatment for chloroquine-resistant malaria, that is artemether and lumenfantrine, called Coartem, and antisunate or mefloquine. These are combinations that you use, especially in